Hey everyone, welcome to Matt. Welcome back on the great weekend. How is everyone doing? With me, as always, is Ryan King. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing very good. Of course, been away for. I mean, technically, I wasn't technically away, but I missed a couple of shows, and you definitely did not. You definitely bounced back very well. I definitely liked watching you, Daniel, and Brian talk about corruption. Definitely enjoyed you guys talking about the quirky mercs. That breakdown was great, and that's one thing I liked about this. I mean, just because one of us is not here does not mean the show is going to be like a bus stranded out in stranded out like on the road with a flat tire. It can still keep going as long as you have something to patch that tire with. But terrible analogy though. But like I said, the show's bigger than us. Otherwise, I feel good, and I'm glad to be back here with you, and also with our special guest 50. But it's kind of a reunion here from the last time we had you on 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same two guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we
have on here when we were talking about John Snap.
That's right.
But he won himself.
How are you doing today, 50? Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Definitely been better, but I'm doing fine. I'm just happy to see that you're doing a lot better than you did from an episode that we pre-recorded earlier today.
You made me put my coffee. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's just great seeing that smile. That's all I'm gonna say. Something I didn't get to see a lot of this morning.
It was quite a morning. But we're here to talk about. We invited you to talk about the Den. Mm-hmm. What are you guys more talking about the Den? That's not with Ryan.
One thing I say about the Den, without a doubt in my mind, and I'm most likely going to say this again in our final thoughts, but they are without one of the most improved factions I have seen. Sure, if you look at faction standings, everyone's going to say, oh, they didn't do much, but no. Looking from where they started in Season 7 and then seeing where they were kicking off in Season 8, the changes that they made, the drastic changes they did in order to get better as a faction, become more of a standing threat, I definitely give all props to them, and especially to Kate herself for originally taking on something that she was mainly going to do for fun, and then you see later on this season, like the start of the season, she's still a great character, but she decides to invest, and she's really comes to play. Like you're seeing the intelligence of Kate coming out here, not just as a great, not with just her comedy wit, but you're also seeing how smart and adaptable she is at the game.
Absolutely. What are you all talking about? And then,
yeah, I'm gonna double down on what Ryan just said. It's selecting the right players right from the start, right from the draft. I mean, the Thomas Harper poll, that's the one everyone's obviously going to go to. But I mean, keeping Soul on, which aside from the Amaru Moses match, I mean, the guy had 2 back-to-back KOs, which not only put a -1 on an opposite team, it also is a +1 if it's a KO, not a TKO.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of Paramo's been great this season. Putting a great team together with the outsiders. Haven't really delivered quite the goods, but it was a good pairing, the two of them. And I mean, Paul Preston is definitely a huge improvement. Ben Goddard, I mean, he's Ben Goddard. He's just as good as he was last season. But overall, the Den is a much better Den than they were last season. And last season, to be fair, it was kind of shuffled all over the place with the whole 2 managers shtick and
Well,
And now, like you said, Kate is being much more. She's still keeping the character, but she knows how to play the game better. And
well, I was gonna
Yeah,
bounce that off of you 50. I was gonna bounce off of you and add on, like, yeah, with one thing for sure with the Schmoedown, even before season 7, before factions became like they were trying to be like more sports oriented. Even then, having two managers in pre-Schmoedown in pre-season 7 was at times a bit of a difficult thing to juggle. I mean, Corruption was able to do it very well with Grace and Ken, though, because Grace and Ken, they were great on the mic and they were great personalities. So all they mainly did was to help take care of their players while making sure they stay focused on the game. And even then, earlier on in season 7, the league themselves, I don't mean the division, but the faction, the league, Mike, Adam Gertler, Johnny LaCroix, and Roxy Stryer. When it was those four, Roxy and Johnny were kind of co-managers as well. So it wasn't as if it wasn't terrible, but we can see here with Kate, who was, I will say, very new and inexperienced compared to Grace, who, when we see her on screen, she's there for the jabs and the barbs and to pretty much be the hateable, the bitchy character that we don't like.
she was. Would you say she was Kate's mouth?
yeah,
I would say she was more of the guy, because before digital happened in season 7, I remember that the draft, being there in person, just seeing Kate at first do the Chicago accent just as a joke, and then loving and hating how this community was all ganging up. I was like, oh my God, Kate, don't do that. Oh no. It was like Kate, along with support from Christian and from Grace, is like, no, we're double downing on this. You're going to hear me talk more like this every single time I'm on screen. I'm not doing a Chicago accent, but I'm trying to be very deep here with all you Johns out there. That's a Philadelphia term. But beyond that, just the fact that you have to see Kate on screen almost every match with that accent, it's this kind of, she knew the character that everyone was responding to, and with her intelligence and wit, she latched right onto it. And honestly, it was the most entertaining thing I had that was, I would say, out of the digital era from 2020.
yeah, and it goes to show you that in the Schmoedown, as soon as people don't like something and they gang up on someone for doing it as part of the character, the opposite happens, where they just double.
We reverse the polarity on that bullying crap. Yeah. That's what we do.
I love that Doctor Who reference.
Perfect.
But I mean, also Roxy did it with the whole sexy numbers thing. People didn't like it.
Exactly.
Kalinowski, I think, with the lollipop.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. So whenever people don't like it, that's when you can double down on it. And
when you're very attuned to your audience, you're able to understand what gets the best reactions out of them that makes them want to tune in even more. And I know there was a lot of push there. Of course, Christian changed the format when he did digital this year, but even then, season 7, when a match started, he would bring on the managers first, have them talk, then bring on the players. And to most people, they thought it got very old very fast. But no offense, you would have never gotten so many great exchanges between Shannon and Roxy, Roxy Winston, Shannon and Winston, Kaiser, Kate and Grace, or when Ken took the whole thing up. I mean, the managers literally were the faces of season 7, no doubt about that. And
yeah,
one thing I do want to tie back to when it comes with the Den themselves, their origin. We all know at the end of Spectacular 4, when Christian was announcing all of these new factions, the original intent for Grace was to be the advisor to Emma Fyffe, who was bringing back the Fyffe Club. But, of course, when the new year came around, I believe Emma, she ended up getting more projects, so she couldn't commit. So Christian announces who's taking over for Emma, Kate, and the Fyffe Club was rebranded as the Den. And right there, and like what we said earlier, Kate just took this whole ball, she ran with it. Not she just run with it. She took the ball, possibly threw it into her backyard, added into so many of her little skits, and just made it her own.
Yeah, I would say she She grabbed the ball while running, didn't quite know what to do with it. She dropped it to the ground, started kicking it, but then once she got to the other side of the court, the end of season 7, she realized what she needed to do with that ball, so she picked it up and started running with it.
Yeah.
I think that's I don't know which sport that was a metaphor for, but I think that's more accurate.
The whole grabbing the ball, that's pretty much a metaphor in general. I know it's a reference to so many sports, mainly basketball. But even then, like from what you were saying, Kate took something that was not within her wheelhouse and she grinded it down to where it worked best for her. And yet, at season 7, right at the end, after that Flirt and Thousand Kevin Smith match, I will not lie. I was there with that live chat. Everyone loved it the moment Kate turned on Grace. They loved it because it's like, okay, I'm going to drop this Chicago accent and I'm going to go be myself. Next year, I'm going to turn everything on its head. And from what you said earlier, 50 getting Thomas Harper as her first draft pick. And even then, during the free agency, when she picked up Marisol McKee as her top 3 and then traded her to Shannon for 2 extra draft picks. Of course, everyone was hounding on Kate. Why did you do that? That was complete. It wasn't stupid, but it was illogical. Everyone thought it was. Look how it turned out. Look, the people that she ends up getting. Thomas Harper the first round. She ends up grabbing, re-getting Saul again. We see what Saul was able to do. She gets Alonzo Duralde. She gets Mark Riley. She gets Peggy Guppins. She gets No. She did draft Jada Paramo, or was he a trade?
I think she got him.
Yeah. And then she gets
traded David Del Rio, which she traded to Kaiser.
That's right. Yeah, she picked David Del Rio earlier on, even though he never got a chance to do a match with her, but still she was drafting Jessica Sloth, Rachel Silverstream, which personally I'm like, why the hell didn't you get her in the top 5 rounds? And then later on, she picks up Ross from nowhere from the FCL as one of her Star Wars players. So Kate really was trying to put together a very stacked deck of competitors.
Yeah. It shows she knows what she's doing better than, say, last season.
Oops. Let's go over a few of these players real quick.
Yeah.
Let's go over Ben Condon. What are your guys' overall thoughts on Ben Condon the last 2 seasons?
Okay. Well, I'll say Ben Goddard. He was definitely one of the biggest. He definitely came out swinging during those first couple of matches, beating RB3. Obviously, him and Rachel doing incredibly well as the Pride.
The heels.
Yes. And I'm like, I was just like, I feel that was very, well, I'll focus on that moment later, but just talking about Ben Goddard. Comes in, he knew exactly what. Yeah. He's more known now for people who have irritated him. I mean, he's more like reactionary, but let's not forget, he's still starting off. He's still fresh. So when he came in this season, obviously he was trying to rebrand himself from the time of SCN.
Bagel Boy.
Call him Bagel Boy.
The Bagel Boy is dead. Long live the bandit.
Yeah. When he did that, it made me want to call him Bagel Boy even more. But still, then seeing Ben come in with this determination to prove himself really showed a lot, and especially how he and Rachel worked together as the Pride, getting great victories over the Butcher Boys and against Real Rejects. And then, of course, they end up losing to Deep 13, or was it Final Exam?
I think it was Final Exam.
That's right. Yes, because
I think they might have beaten Deep 13 at one point, I think.
Yeah, let me just double check with her.
Yeah, he got rated.
That was Final Exam who beat them. I'm just remembering because Final Exam, whoever won that got to play the Pride in a number 1 contenders match, or at least to advance to play against Shazam in a number 1 contenders match. And those were like the only few matches the Pride had that season. But even then, they did have a very strong play. I mean, going up against the Butcher Boys, they win by TKO. Then when they played against Real Rejects, they were given opponent's choice, and they did great in '80s movies, which gave them the win. I was just disappointed that they were just never given enough more matches. Yeah, that's definitely Goddard's definitely having a big slump this season, especially how he was able to kick off. He was one of the second people to rejoin Kate for the season. I mean, Paul Preston was one of the first for the free agency, and then her pairing Paul and Ben together, they showed to be a great team as the outsiders.
Yeah, let me ask you guys something. Do you think Goddard gets in his own head kind of like Snyder? Do you think that's part of it?
I would say
I don't think so, especially if you look at his JTE match. You can tell he very clearly didn't know the 5-pointer.
Yeah.
But he missed a couple of ones in his King Khan match.
Yeah.
Would have stomped any other player, and he pretty much got the whole spinner's and opponent's choice. And I know Khan didn't necessarily get spinner's choice, but it was basically a spinner's choice, while Goddard got opponent's choice, and he still bounced back from that. And in a season when the Finstock Exchange are just putting TKOs on people so fast that they literally made a T-shirt out of it. I mean, surviving a TKO from King Khan, which has proven to be one of the best rookies in a faction full of great rookies, that's no small feat. So
yeah, and definitely not to ignore the fact that King Khan, Jeffrey Khan, he was putting out a dominating performance out of that first round. And Ben, unfortunately, he was playing catch-up in his match. And drawing back to one of Ben's singles matches, when he went up against, you know what? Thinking about his 2 seasons, it is funny. He only has one singles match against RB3 this in season 7, and then he plays 2 singles matches in this season. I don't know if it's just more of a scheduling issue, but I think
don't forget he also played Inner Kingdom.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he beat Jim Baker. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
And then obviously he lost to Robert Parker, which is Robert Parker.
Right.
So no shame on that.
Honestly, you're not wrong, Brian. They would have made a very dominating team, because both Paul Preston, from, if anyone ever subscribes to the Movie Guys, which you should, Paul shows incredible passion for movies, incredible knowledge of films, along with Adam Witt, and even their little I can't remember their podcast, but what they do, they love talking about films. I mean, during the Smash-a-thon, he puts together an entire match all about the movie Flash of Genius, entire trivia match regarding questions for the movie Flash of Genius. So to tell me that Paul Preston and Mark Riley would not have complimented each other, it was insane. But at the time when Kate was drafting, of course, Ben and Paul made sense because they could compliment each other well. And we did see in their match against Lightning Time, they took them all the way to that 5-pointer. And if Lightning Time had missed, outsiders would have moved forward.
Yeah.
It was all just about not about who was the better player amongst the two, but just their first outing together. And
Paul looked better with Ben than he did. He was with Tom last season, right?
Yes. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because before we want to, because I think also looking at the player she picked last season should be there were some odd ducks in season 7 lineup, but even then she was kicking up. Oh, go ahead.
Can I go through the roster from that season? I have it right here.
Oh yeah, go ahead, because I was just about to mention some of the people she picked very earlier on. She picks Paul Preston, she gets Tom, she gets Rachel, of course, she gets Saul, she gets Sean Sullivan, who not many people didn't know, and we see him play in a Star Wars match, and early Sean Sullivan. I mean, not early Sean Sullivan, but even then, just like she had her eye on rookies and wanting to work more with others. And I'm glad, because I think she and Rachel work well together. I was just a little upset that we didn't get to see much of her this season. But
Don't
go ahead
forget-
with the roster.
Don't forget, Kate
And-
also got Alex.
Yeah, Alex Marzonia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to address this from Brian. Yeah, it's true. Ben's losses this season in singles have been to the exchange. But like I said earlier, if you watch both those matches back to back, he was on the brink of a TKO both times.
Yeah.
And he was able to bounce back from it. Not a lot of people were able to do that this season, especially against the Finstock Exchange. And JT, because of that, because JTE faced both Ben and Paul, he still doesn't have a TKO this season.
That is true. Honestly, it is true.
I mean, he's got a TKO in teams, 2 of them, but he doesn't have a TKO in singles because look at who he faced, 2 powerhouses.
Especially in Ben's match against JTE, he was ahead, definitely. JTE, just like before in his match against Paul, was behind to where Paul and Ben easily could have capitalized on that match. It just fell to their last questions where they missed.
And it's a little strange that the outsiders haven't faced Rushmore yet. That would have been an interesting matchup.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be confirmed for the team tournament because so far in the list of teams we've seen, the new teams we've seen proposed from Christian posted on Facebook, it looks like Alonzo and Riley are going to be in that team's tournament.
That I have spoken to Mike Riley, and that's more or less. I'm pretty sure it's going to be that team in the team's tournament.
I mean, yeah, 50. We're part of the same Patreon with Riley, though. It's just kind of.
I wasn't sure if you were in the same. I don't remember if you were in the same conversation that at that time.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine. It's okay. Yeah, it's really like a very it's like an invisible line here amongst this community when we interact with so many of these. When we want to interact with the Schmoedown players, we become part of their Patreons, and we learn some of this information. It's very difficult to really want to talk about it, but I think the only reason why I'm only saying something like this is because Christian had posted onto the Facebook group page the list of teams. And honestly, if you do the logic, if you put the math together, if you do the math and you put all that information together with the team's tournament coming up soon, because we're already in the IG and the singles tournament. IG tournament, it's only 8 people, so it's going to wrap up very fast. So it does make sense with all these new teams being proposed, especially on the Finstock Exchange side with King Arthur, which is Griffin Newman and King Khan. It makes sense that some of these new teams are going to be put in the team's tournament, especially the fact that Koi is still sticking with the press room.
Let me ask you guys this, because I don't think neither of you were on last week. Lucas Netflix, how do you guys feel about that?
The who?
Roca being done.
Oh, Roca. Oh. I think personally Roca's fine with it, honestly. Ultimately, it's still Gucci's decision. Just like last season when Roca was under Gucci, Gucci chose him and Dan to be in the team's tournament. And I think this time Roca's like, yeah, give some of the younger guys a shot. 50's pretty much just said all the rookies on their team have delivered TKOs or victories in one way or another. So Roca, I would not be. Yeah, even Roca. So it would not be surprising that Roca's saying, like, you know what, these guys have proven their worth. Let them go ahead. Let them go. He's probably wants to focus in the singles tournament.
And also, I think it's mostly because Roca, I think he just needs a break from Schmoedown for now. I mean, whenever he starts talking about I don't know how long I can do this. I think I'm going to retire pretty soon. Obviously, no one really believes he's ever going to retire. But I think what the man needs is just a little bit of break. He's going to see other people play, and he's going to be like, damn it, I want to jump back into that. So I think I think that's the main reason he's not going to go in the teams.
He mainly he wants to get rejuvenated. He wants to see this new pool of talent. That's why he made
every time he goes like this, he's waving the whole retirement banner. He he goes out of the league for a couple of months, sees other people outpacing him, and he's like, no, I am the league. I'm jumping back in. So
What if?
You always need a reason.
What if he comes back as a manager next year?
I mean, if he does, then it gives him the best excuse not to. I mean, I don't think Christian is going to do the player manager thing. We're only getting that with Witt and a few other players because the managers just were never available around a lot. But
if he comes back as a manager, he doesn't have to play. He's still in the league, and he still has a presence in the Schmoedown. I think that is very possible. What do you guys think?
I still think no, because of my earlier point. I think he could enjoy being a manager for like a couple of matches, but sooner or later he's gonna catch that bug again, and he's like, "No, I want to compete. I don't want to manage. It's great being it." I think he's gonna enjoy being a manager, and he's gonna be a great manager. I just think competing is where he really wants to focus on.
actually, my sentiments are the same as 50s.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you, and I kind of don't know, but we're all having fun here. It's all fun.
Yeah.
What
I
do you
do agree.
let's talk about another player that lasted with Kate for 2 seasons. What do you guys think about Saul? The internet celebrity Saul.
The Soul Show.
I'm kind of jealous. I'm jealous and envious of the man at the same time. Just like with most of us fans, he was able to become ingratiated into Christian's good graces. He gets himself added on to a draft, which not many of us fans were privy to at that time. And yeah, he's picked up by Kate. And we see, he ends up having a bad, rough start against Brandon Hanna. But like most of us, come on, look what he did this year. Does a double KO on both Greg and John Humphreys. Sure, his loss to tomorrow, fine.
Nothing against them as players.
No,
they've done great as IG players against other people. It's just they had a run of bad luck when they played against Saul, much like Saul did when he went up against Amaro.
I think it was just more of the folk. Luck. It does fall in that way, but then also we did see with Saul, he had a more actually, I shouldn't say that because he still had that same determination against Amaru. But we do see from Saul that the way he is, how comfortable he was just answering those IG questions was good. And we did see in his match against Amaru, it got into the questions did get into his head a little bit. When he played both rejects to where he's just there listening for those questions and then answering. We did see, obviously, against Brent, his rematch against Hannah. Unfortunately, it looked like the luck was not going to be his way again.
Well, let's not forget the other big difference in that Amaru match. It was live. It wasn't live, but
I don't think a guy like that, a live match phases him too much. What I think happened, and this is just my personal observation, I think he fell for a trap that seems to happen to a lot of people this season, especially in the IG. He just landed on a category on his first spin, category he thought he would do good at. He just wasn't expecting the types of questions he will be put up against. It happened to me in one of my matches in the same category, no less. Category I love, Planet of the Apes, but I'm saying if you're not 100% confident in a category, if you're just 70% confident in a category, you do not go for that category on your first spin.
Damn ape category is a new. I think there's a new movie release date.
Honestly, no. Movie release dates with these new categories and IG being added, movie release dates has become once again just like scores and soundtracks or mixed bag. It's become once again the the Joker card in a 52 card deck to where you don't want to pick that card. Like what 50 said, you need to have like strong confidence or just a strong knowledge in that certain category. It's why, I mean, I spent the last couple weeks, I was rewatching some of the IG matches, watching Chandru from season 7, his rise, and then seeing this season when he went up against Mara, how those new categories really did kind of trip him up there to where he wasn't completely confident or sure in his ability. And we have seen that so far this entire season with every other player. Sure, if Saul had spun again, maybe he would have gotten something like dystopian time travel, or he would have gotten graphic novels like Amaro did, or if he had gotten DC, or just comic book movies in general, or hell, like in his match against Humphreys, if he had gotten Spider-Man, 100%, he would have nailed that. Although, in his match against Brandon Hanna, though, those Spider-Man questions didn't help him either.
Yeah, but to your point, Amaru did land on graphic novels, a category he was more confident in than Saul was in Planet of the Apes, and that's what really gave him the TKO victory.
Yeah.
Getting a good category in round 2, I think is the most important thing sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I've had great success with the round 2 category in all of my matches, well, except for maybe one. And that really, the round 2, that is the make or break round. And as we've seen a lot this season, that is the round that really determines the difference between going to the 5-pointer and winning by TKO.
Yeah.
That's really the ratio this season. It's the round 2.
Yeah.
Obviously it's getting all the questions right, but it's also going to multiple choice when you need it, not giving up any steals, and when you do, hoping for a 1-point steal. I know giving a 2-point steal was really what really ended me a match fairly recently. So it's. I like to compare this as like round 1 is the skeleton of your points total. Round 2 is the meat and flesh and muscles on the body. Round 3 is just the finishing touches, and hopefully you don't have to reach your 5-pointer. Hopefully, even more so, you don't even have to answer any questions at all.
Yeah.
well, talking about, there's one more player from last season I want to bring up before we move into this season. Kate drafted Brett, and he did win a few matches that season. What do you guys think about that?
Didn't he win like one?
Yeah. Okay. He won one, and then he didn't play another one the Faust did. So
in my book, Brett Sheridan is still undefeated.
Oh, no.
He did.
I count both of them as the same person, but
I know.
I know. Kayfabe-wise, Brett Sheridan is still 1-0. The Flaus, on the other hand, he's 0-1 in the Schmoedown, but he's 1-0.
But he's the FCL champion, so who cares?
I'm hoping somebody takes that belt off him. I will say, getting Brett was a surprise. Kate drafting him. I mean, just like with Ben as well, I mean, him being an SCN guy, him having some knowledge in movies. It was kind of funny, though, because I do remember the build-up to both of their first matches. The fans, or at least so many people, were wondering, why are these guys here? It looks like it's just going to be a joke match. And unfortunately, him and Bonnie Somerville, as much as I have been a proponent of how much Bonnie has improved in the game, her match against Brett really was it really wasn't the best. It really wasn't that good.
So everyone thought it was going to be a joke match. Turns out the joke was on us.
I will say it was much better than Dagnino versus Robert Meyer Burnett, 100%. And Bonnie gave the same performance that she did against Janine the Machine in Janine's first match. But I still think they say here with that Bonnie is still entertaining to watch, and Brett is very entertaining to watch. So yes, it was in a bit like a joke match to so many people. But we did see through Brett and Bonnie, they were not letting the stuff get to them at times. So when Brett won, I love the fact he jumped up as if he had won a championship, or he's that fifth grader who miraculously won the spelling bee. It was like, wait, I won? Are you kidding me?
He wasn't sure he was going to do that. And I don't even think Christian thought he was going to win. I don't think anyone thought that was going to be the outcome. It was like, I think maybe they were treating it as like a fun, okay, let's
just like
let's give Brett a
when
match,
they were
and then
on
you
their
won.
couch. Yeah, when they were just on the couches together, just hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I to be honest, I miss those matches. Like those fun, real friends. And I think we're going to get more of them next season, according to Holo.
I think one of the reasons why I like the fact they have all these exhibition matches, because it's just there for fun's sake. Like, just remind everybody, yeah, once a month you're going to get these exhibition matches where you're just going to see all of them just play. No stakes involved, nothing there, just like knowledge versus knowledge. And
No
maybe
character work, no scheming and strategizing, no.
Well, one of my favorite matches, and I don't think it was an exhibition match, but it was a fun match, you can tell. It was the Founding Fathers versus the Wildberries.
Oh, yeah.
That was a fun match. What do you guys think about that match?
Ben, you already know my thoughts on that match, but for everyone who has not seen our episode on Josh Makuga, that is one of the rare times where I do see John and Dan just get to loosen up and have fun. They don't have to worry about, like, oh, what's this match? I mean, sure, if they lost to the Wildberries, yeah, that would look a little bad, but then at the same time, it's the freaking Wildberries, guys. You're gonna have a Wildberries. But I was gonna say, you're gonna have a fun match regardless, and you're gonna have good moments. I mean, heck, Josh and Elliot would share some Chardonnay or some Pinot Grigio with you guys while you're just sitting there playing.
What did you think of that match, Fishy? I don't know if I ever talked about it with you.
I gotta be honest, I don't think I quite remember everything that happened in that match.
The big highlights of that match was Wildberries. They come out, they called themselves the Mildberries for a bit, pretending.
Oh, and then they take off their clothes and then they start drinking. Oh yeah, okay. So I do remember that match. I don't really remember a lot of the questions and the categories, but yeah, I do remember that match.
Yes.
Do you remember what happened with the belt?
What happened? What?
Dan was singles champion at the time. Josh, I believe, missed one of his round 3 questions, loses his shit. He throws the belt off the table.
Lost the belt.
Yeah.
And that's how he got a match against Oyama and got himself suspended for 30 days.
It was originally 2 months, but Sam said it could be reduced to a month. 30 days if you play Oyama.
I want to get more. I want to get more matches like that. Guys, and then everyone having fun.
I think it was the game plan for season 7 was just to have fun and be all about characters, which is why to go all the way back to season 7, even though we're going to divert ourselves into season 8 soon, we did see when those early studio matches, Kate coming out there, she's playing a character, especially in those early promos. Like everyone, like Kate was being like pretending to be, the mom, and within her fanny pack, she'd always like pull out certain food, like, oh, I made you a brisket earlier. Oh, here's a bagel. Oh, like here, have some of this. Like that was Kate. That was like her little end quip, and even going out earlier in the matches. Of course, we definitely need to touch on this one during those early season matches, when it was Tom and Paul's first match against Deep 13. Everyone criticized Kate for going with Festival Darlings, and I understand. I get everyone hating that, but rewatching that match and then looking at every team's match or every match in general, sometimes for strategy, even when you get your strength, it really won't pay off for you. We've seen that so many times in matches where let's see, Riley gets scores and soundtracks, even though it's the strength of his, he falls on it. We've seen Drew McWeeny a couple of times when he got 80s during the Anarchy tournament. 80s questions, they didn't help him. And it led to him and Brienne losing to the Harris brothers. Or when, let's say, oh my God.
Even recently this season, Ben Bateman with movie release dates.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It just goes to show that, yeah, of course, everyone's going to say it's a rookie mistake, but if those Festival Darlings questions were more deep cut than the one that Alonzo and Whitney got, that would have been seen as one of the smartest plays that Kate as a manager made. But then at the same time, Tom and Paul still agreed to give Festival Darlings. Kate was just the one to shout it out.
Yeah, so what you're basically saying is that the Festival Darlings category in that match wasn't Deep 13.
Okay, no. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, 50.
It wasn't deep enough. I'm sorry.
No, the deep cut.
This is why you bring me onto this show.
Yeah. Oh.
And there is like one other example I do want to bring out on here, and honestly, I might expand more on this when we get to the stars. But also, when Jim Vejvoda and Jared Habon played against Liz Shannon Miller and Adam Hlavik. It's a harken back to Jim Vejvoda when Top 10 played against Top That, and they gave them biopics for opponent's choice. Everyone criticized Vejvoda for that. Vejvoda is strong in biopics. Not many people knew that, especially when you learn more about that. So if Vejvoda gave them biopics and Matt and Roca if they didn't sweep that round and they missed a few questions, Vejvoda easily could have jumped on those and stolen some points. It's not all about, he didn't watch the show, so he doesn't know. That's the one thing that I hate. People try to make excuses for certain players for giving people. I can understand. Okay, maybe I should have watched a top 10 match, but even then, if you know you're good at something and it's on the wheel, and maybe your opponent's good at it as well, sometimes a high risk will pay off.
Yeah,
we can criticize it as much as we can till our mouths run dry and we're blue in the face. But you have no idea what questions are going to be happening in that.
Yeah, and if your opponent who's supposedly good in that category misses a couple of them, that makes them look bad, like you said. But here's the thing: I always think it's a much smarter play when you have to pick an opponent's choice to someone. It's much smarter to give someone a category that you know you're good at, but also that they're not as good at, as opposed to a category that you both could sweep.
And I think it's becoming more difficult this season, honestly, to determine what someone is weak at. Because there have been a couple of opponents. There's been matches where we've seen opponent's choice gain somebody a 5 to 6 point lead that can lead to a TKO or at least to a guaranteed victory. And there are some times where opponent's choice is given to someone and they end up dominating that slice. So, I mean, if I recall, in Janine against Marisol got opponent's choice. Janine gave her something. Marisol ends up sweeping that slice, other than like maybe going multiple choice once. No. She swept it. But Marisol ends up sweeping that slice, and we do see her end up evidently going to win that match. So
that's why, by the way, sometimes some players, when they talk to their managers, they go like, I don't know about this category. Should we spin away? Let's spin away. And then when they land on opponent's choice, that's the first thing that comes to the other person's mind. That's why I appreciated when I think it was Swag that did it recently with Jen Kemp, where they could have given them the category that they spun away from, but instead they just stuck to their strategy and gave them the category that they knew they wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump back into this season. Let's talk a little bit. Well, we kind of talked about her, but let's talk a little bit more about her. Rachel Silverstreet. What are your guys' thoughts on her? Let's start with 50 on this.
I really hope she gets a win because she's a great player and she just happens to run into bad luck constantly, especially this season. She played once or twice, I can't remember. But wasn't
it was once against
wasn't it against like Marisol or something like that? Or Paige? No, it was Paige for Betty.
No.
Yeah,
she played Paige.
Yeah, Paige for Brady. Great player, and definitely, as a lot of people say, the MVP of The Usual Suspects. But at the same time, like, Rachel's been playing for such a long time, and much like Paul Preston, her record doesn't show how good she really is. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate when you see players like that you know how good they can be. If it was like a middle class player versus a top tier player, you can go like, okay, I can see they had no chance. But in a match between Fabretti and Rachel, it's just I'm at a loss for words at the moment. But I think I said what I had to say.
To me, Rachel had a career a lot like Janine. Like, they have a lot of, they know so much. Most of their records don't reflect it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Janine finally is in a great place. Rachel really needs.
I mean, in the teams match against Shazam, she outplayed Snyder, her team partner, who is arguably one of the better team players of all time. And they still lost because, again, the record doesn't show what they're truly capable of, because they played Shazam, who went perfect, didn't miss a single question in that entire game.
Ryan, what are your thoughts about Rachel?
If my thoughts on one of our Schmoedown Sunday shows didn't say exactly how much I hated the fact that Rachel and Paige were paired up against each other, I will expand more on here. Rachel is definitely one of the brightest. I will say it's really hard to put the words together, but I will just say Rachel is vastly overlooked in this community. She's vastly overlooked, and I won't say she's underrated. She is a good character. She is a great player. If no one looks back at her previous matches, I mean, look at her when she was with Devon Stewart for Inky and the Brain. She definitely was one of these knowledgeable. She's definitely a top. She was definitely the
She carried the team.
She literally carried that team. Except whenever they got Will Smith, Devon was able to pull his weight. And when it was the Pride, we saw that she was able to compliment Ben so many times on questions. And as their singles record, looking at who she played up against, first match against Paul Preston, it almost got to her, but she lost by the 5-pointer for Paul to win. She played against Roca, took Roca all the way into that third round.
And it's Roca.
Yes, Roca. At the time, Roca was getting that fire back, and was starting to get that fire back, because that was the same year where he won the championship from Bibiani and ended up losing it later on. So to know that, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That was season 5 when he won it off Bibbs, because season 6, Irwin had the belt.
That was season 6, the Magic season.
Yeah, the Magic season.
Rachel.
Yeah, sorry, I'm off a little bit on that. But even then, Roca once again was getting that fire back, and you saw exactly that Rachel was one of him playing up against Rachel. Kind of proved exactly why he still wanted to play. And then, of course, she ends up getting a TKO loss against Liz, but even then, though, she was someone who was vastly overlooked by so many people in this community that, unfortunately, those who are now joining this community and watching season 8, and then they see that she had an 0-3 record, they're immediately going to go, why is she still here? Do yourself a favor, look back at seasons 5 and see her career, and you'll see why she is still around. Not because she represents diversity, but because she loves being here. I mean, hell, look at how she does in exhibition matches. She is a fan. She is the Disney the two Disney exhibition matches that she's in, and see the knowledge that she pulls. I mean, now that Kevin Smith is in the Schmoedown, I can't wait for her to have a Kevin Smith match and then have Kevin Smith on that wheel just to show exactly how knowledgeable she is in that and with his movies.
I mean, I'm going to one-up that. How about a Kevin Smith movies exhibition match against Kevin Smith with her?
Maybe have Kevin Smith on the desk, and then we'll be in awe of how many people love his films.
No, I just want to go full meta.
Yeah.
In other words, full Kevin Smith. She's going to play Kevin Smith in a match about Kevin Smith. and
How
win,
about-
because that's how I have it in my head.
I knew you guys want better. How about the Kevin Smith match? With who playing against Silent Bob?
But I'll tell you the flaw in that plan. Silent Bob's not going to answer any questions.
Well, he can do the whiteboard, but they want him to speak though. So
Yeah, you got to verbalize your answer. It'll be
The only
like
reason
the
why
silent assassin, Adam Girdler.
Oh, Adam, yeah, he spoke a couple of times.
He
when
was whispering the answers in Kalinowski's ear.
well, for round 2 though, but he definitely had to talk in round 1.
Yeah.
But one reason why I said I think Kevin Smith would be fun to have on the desk, just so Kevin Smith can start talking about some fun facts of his movies when the questions are brought up.
Okay, okay.
He can still do that while he's writing Kate on a piece of paper.
I think I got it. A team's expectation match of Kevin Smith with the Pride. Is Rachel on our team right now?
She's not, no, because
he's only-
We unite the Pride for one match against Shay and Silent Mom against the Muse in the league.
Okay. It'll have to be in studio.
maybe.
Yeah, and it has to be in the studio.
No, I kind of like the idea of it being digital to where you can have Jay and Silent Bob with a green screen behind as if they're outside of the quick store, the quick stop.
Yeah, but
they have to be
in two separate screens for that. They'd have to be on two separate screens for that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it would be a fun thing to just to witness. But going on then with Rachel, I don't know if her season's done. Oh, yeah, her season is done because she was in the first round of the singles tournament and it doesn't look like she's going to be in team. So if she does when she does come back next season, I want to, and obviously at the time Christian will be back doing studios. I want to see an entire just smorgasbord of Rachel Silver streaming matches.
Yeah, me too.
I know we're talking about that, Dad, but how do you think Rachel would do on the Stars?
Not bad, actually. I think her and Roxy could work very well together. I mean, we've seen what Roxy
I
can do
could see
with
her and Janine as a team. I could, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking maybe that's a possibility next season.
Well, I mean, only time is definitely going to tell, but I know we're getting towards the end. Let's divert. Let's pivot to talking about the den of
Pivot.
Yes.
Pivot.
Let's pivot talking about the den of this year. I mean, we did touch on them every here and now, but just seeing this year, the picks what Kate was able to do now. We did touch about the outsiders on how even though they didn't have the best start, they were still a very dominant team in both of their matches, going up against Lightning Time and the Press Room. Ben and of course Paul were unlucky in their singles matches. Riley, he lost his first match against Ben Bateman, but he was able to bounce back by winning against Liz Shannon Miller. And the fact that he is in the tournament, the singles and hopefully team tournament, his time is not done just yet. And of course with Thomas Harper, biggest superstar to come out of the den. Seeing how he's able to work his way through that Star Wars tournament was just amazing.
Yeah, and did I tell you that me and Thomas Harper happen to belong into a very special and exclusive club?
The 501, the 501st Legion. No, I'm sorry.
No, we're so far the only two people on the planet that were able to beat Gold Leader in Star Wars trivia. I just gotta shoehorn that in whenever I can because it's not gonna happen when I face him next time. So I'm milking it for as long as I can.
No, unless someone shares this with him, you're just gonna add more fuel to that fire.
Oh, he knows. I'm gonna do a show with him in a couple of hours. He knows how much I'm milking it.
Yeah, but just not just about gold leader, but what Thomas Harper did do. I mean, he gets a great win going up against Adam Witt. Then he does like possibly one of the most surprising things. He's able to beat Ace Cabrera
in sudden death.
Exactly, sudden death. Knowing exactly what Thomas Harper. I mean, of course, Thomas Harper, one of the Dragon Con players, everyone had their eye on, and so there was a lot of expectations going from him. And he was the second drag person. Let's see, first person to play was Murray Wilson. Yeah, his match came not that far off. So seeing how he did against Adam Witt, was able to blow through that. I mean, he missed a couple of questions there, but even then, that was just him just warming up, getting started. Because then when he played against Eric Whiteley, he mowed down every damn question to where I'm like, he could easily knock him out. But it didn't happen. Still, Thomas Harper just kept
growing. The Star Wars division is.
Well, exactly. Ben, I want to definitely get more on talking about just his run through, but just seeing any thoughts you have for Thomas Harper?
Go ahead, Ben.
I echo everything you guys said. He's impressive. I can't wait to see more of him. He was great in the Star Wars tournament. What else can I add?
How about this question from you guys? Now that we know Thomas Harper is going to face for the Star Wars Championship, how do you see that match is going to play out between him and Andrew DiMolanta?
I mean, just for myself as a quirky Mercs fan, I just hope DiMolanta wins, and I also hope it's another 51-50 situation.
Well, I don't know if it's digital, if they're going to do it live, so that could lead to that. That's going to be the biggest query. If it's digital, a 51-50 could happen, but if it's live, it would have to lead to sudden death, obviously, especially with the buzzers being implemented for live matches.
Yeah, but then again, the match with Corruption also was a live.
Well, no, that's what I'm just saying. It was a live match, though. But I'm just saying with if both of them go perfect in both round 1 and 2, they both bet 3 and gain 3 points. I'm just saying it's going to have to take some insane mathematics in order for them to go into the final round tied again.
Yeah.
To be honest, as good as Thomas Harper is, I think it's Andrew DiMolanto's match to lose. I think I just think he's on a streak right now, and he wants to be the new Damon. I think he wants to be the new Damon.
I think DiMolanta, his first match against Damon, perfect round and one of the best matches in Schmoedown history. And his second match with Damon didn't do quite well for Damon, but DiMolanta was also perfect back to back. Back to back perfect matches, not an easy feat to do, especially in Star Wars. But then when it came time for his match with Laura, he definitely missed a couple of questions, and you saw there was a moment there he wanted to challenge some of the questions in the speed round. And I think DiMolanta is one of those players that takes every question he misses personally, and he's going to study the books so hard that he's going to pitch a perfect game against Harper, which is something you need to do in order to beat someone like Thomas Harper, especially in a championship match where the questions are several levels above the regular, which is already pretty high to begin with.
Well, as we start to wrap up here, let's briefly talk about Mark Riley on the 10. What do you guys think of him real quick? Why did that start with you?
I never would have figured he'd end up on the den, but I'm happy he did. And to be honest, I don't know how much we can share from Mark Riley's Patreon, but I don't really think he's not quite as active on the den as most people on the den are. But him and Kate have a great back and forth, going all the way back to the Collider Live days and the SCN stuff, and he's got a really great chemistry with Kate, or as I like to call it, Kate mystery. So I think Kate brings out the best in him in such a way that Gucci, which he's known for longer, I don't think Gucci was quite able to get that type of performances out of him the way Kate has been. And even going back to, like we said earlier, his match with Bateman, yeah, he still lost, but it was a pretty tough week for Mark in general. He's going through a rough time in general, getting better. Again, not sure how much I can share, but I think his definite improvement against Liz Shannon Miller, and obviously beating Ben Bateman in the exhibition match for the Top Gun exhibition match, it really helps a lot to his morale, and I think he's only going to get better. I think there was a time when his star kind of started to fade away a little bit, especially in the last couple of seasons, but in the latter half of this season, he's going to get back to the status of the two-time movie trivia Schmoedown champion, which he so rightfully deserved. And I definitely can foresee a team's belt in his future, maybe even this season.
That's so. Well, I think that was a great talking. That's 50. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on my channel, 50 Shades of Geek. You can also find me later tonight on Twitch, 50 Shades O Geek without the F. I'm for a little bit of a Lego Harry Potter gaming in preparation for my Harry Potter match on the Outlaw Nation League, which you can also find me there. Yesterday I managed Ben in his debut IG match, and tomorrow I'm doing a teams match with my good friend Soda from Get Sweaty. And you can also check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Pokemon Star Cross and Crescent, where I design a Pokemon game based on Israel, which is where I live.
Well, thank you for coming on. Oh, that sounds great. Ryan, my man, where can everyone find you?
As usual, everyone can find me here Saturdays on Mount Schmoedown. Definitely just pretty much doing what we do. We like to talk, discuss, break down our favorite Schmoedown players. Or even factions, managers, or just personalities especially with the year continuing on. I mean, we're wrapping up on our factions, but even then, you'll still find me here on Mount Schmoedown as we just talk about everything we know about the Schmoedown in general. And then also check me out whenever I'm available on Sundays for Schmoedown Night in Canada, or if whenever the boys, the shows in the North are just not available to recap and review the past couple matches for the Schmoedown.
All right. And you guys can find me, I'm all over this place, at Ben_Radio on Twitter, right here on Mount Schmoedown, sometimes on Schmoedown Sundays with Ryan. Gets ready with 50 on every Saturday. Recapping the past every Friday and Tuesday, shooting the breeze, and some things here and there. But until next week, from everyone from Mount Schmoedown, this is us, and we'll see you then. Have a good week, everyone. Thanks.
That Den.